Africa Business Report in association with Skybank.
Welcome to Africa Business Report with me, Komla Dumont. Each month we'll be bringing you the biggest individuals and the hottest trends that are driving business across this amazing continent. This month we're in Nairobi, Kenya, and in a moment we'll find out how this country, and indeed the entire East African region, hopes to jump into the fast lane of the information superhighway. Also in this program, surviving the credit crunch. Our Nigerian businesses are dealing with a lack of credit. The face of the future. We'll hear from a young Kenyan woman whose bright business idea has won her a prestigious BBC prize. And later, South Africa reaches for the stars. That's all in this edition of Africa Business Report. We live in an information age where the exchange of data and ideas is essential for business. And it's true, Africa has lagged behind for several years in that regard, but that's all set to change. Africa's internet revolution begins right here in Kenya with the laying of a 17,000-kilometer fiber optic cable that'll connect parts of Africa to Asia and then on to Europe. Rory Ketlin-Jones reports from the port city of Mombasa.
It's a country with a mobile phone shop on every corner and a great hunger for better connections to the outside world. But for Kenyans, getting online is still a struggle. Now though, a fibre optic cable laid under the ocean all the way from India has come ashore here on a beach at Mombasa, bringing Kenya its first solid link to the internet. And it's not just Kenya which stands to benefit from the arrival of this cable just a few feet beneath me. It'll link up the whole of East Africa to the high-speed internet at a reasonable price for the very first time.
This is the beach, Manmo.
Amongst the team behind the cable project, there's a sense that this is a historic achievement.
The whole of the world is wired apart from this region. So for us, it's actually exciting, apart from bringing opportunities to these countries that I will say had been forgotten by this cable revolution.
Technology quickly.
I took a journey out of Mombasa with a man who's trying to bring better technology to farmers. Martin Regainer isn't providing web access, but water pumps. So what's the web got to do with growing tomatoes? The charity needs to collect data from every farm it helps, and cheaper, faster internet connections are making that easier.
Increasing efficiency is saving money. Saving money means we are able to reach more of these people at a cheaper cost, which is basically our mission, reach the most people at the least cost.
The farmers have swiftly got used to mobile phones. Now they say they're interested in the internet.
If you want to get news from other places on how people improve on their farming, it's easier now to get it. Yeah.
And to look for donors in case we are short of funds.
But it's this generation of Kenyans who really stand to benefit from the cable. At the St. Charles Lwanga Secondary School in Mombasa, they'd love to give their pupils a good grounding in IT. This school has 12 classrooms, but just one of them has computers in it. It's quite impressive. There are 20 reconditioned PCs donated by British companies. But here's the catch, none of them is connected to the internet.
If they are not able to access information online, then we are basically saying it will be a hopeless society that we are getting them into.
It's that important?
Very important.
Kenya has already got a community of tech-savvy young people desperate for better internet connections. Tony Ndungu is one of them, but he told me he's somewhat cynical about whether the promises will be delivered.
This connectivity will be the most important thing for my generation since independence, genuinely. But the question is, will it get to my doorstep? Will it really reach the people that need it? Will it be for Kenyans everywhere, or will it be for specific Kenyans?
At the Bluefin Cyber Cafe in downtown Mombasa, web access is cheap but painfully slow. The owner isn't rushing to upgrade his link, but says when he does, it will make a difference.
I'm quite positive and quite happy about it. Looking forward to the fast speeds, because I've had a lot of foreign people coming into browse, and many have complained about the slow speeds.
For most Kenyans, home internet access is still a luxury item way beyond their means. And internet providers are playing down talk of big price cuts.
When you do the mathematics, yes, you're able to give a considerable price discount to the end user who is a client, but not that much 80–90% discount.
So at that kind of price, ordinary Kenyans aren't really going to be able to afford broadband, are they?
That's true.
The choir of St Charles Luanga sing in praise of President Obama, revered here in Kenya. They're looking forward to joining the information age, but they may find there are still a few potholes on the road to the internet future. This is Rory Catherine-Jones in Mombasa for Africa Business Report.
Now, in spite of the global downturn, Kenya has experienced some economic growth. But the truth is, things could actually have been better if it wasn't for one major problem, which is the inconsistent energy supply. And it's not just a Kenyan problem, it's a regional problem. Egon Kosu has been across the border to Uganda to find out how businesses there are looking to alternative energy sources to plug the energy gap.
Sugarcane and acres of it. This ancient crop is perhaps as old as the country itself, yet it could hold the key to the future of energy production here. The Kinyara sugar factory lies in the lush Masindi region of northwestern Uganda. It's produced sugar since the early 1970s, but now it's diversifying. Economic expansion has left Uganda with a big, hungry market for reliable energy. Power shortages are holding it back, so Kinyara is getting into the energy game by turning sugarcane into electricity and selling it to the grid. The cane is brought here in vast quantities. Enormous threshing machines make quick work of slicing and dicing.
Now this marks a sort of halfway point in the production of energy here at Kinyara. Once the sugarcane is cut, crushed and drained of all of its juices, you're left with this, which is known as bagasse. As you can see, there's tons and tons of the stuff. Now it's then taken from here to another part of the factory where it plays a crucial role in providing energy not just for this factory, but for miles and miles around.
A fiery fate awaits the bagasse. The immense energy produced here drives vast turbines, which in turn produce electricity for the grid. And that means constant energy for thousands of households and businesses. The man in charge of this process is John Tesserach. He thinks this is going to be a big money spinner for the company, but he's still a frustrated man.
So Kennedy, what are your main concerns about your capacity here?
Yeah, we have a lot of potential to generate and sell power to the national grid. Our main limitation is the line for taking the power out.
But it seems perfectly sturdy to me. What's your problem with it?
The line currently can only take out what we are generating. But for us to exploit our potential completely, we need about 10 times what we have here.
So this is really holding you back?
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, a line that will do that for us is about 300 kilometers away from here.
Despite these frustrations, the company is racing against its rivals to be the first in Uganda to enter the carbon trading market. It's hoping to earn carbon credits because it uses sugarcane, not diesel, to produce power, thereby cutting the amount of CO2 pumped into the air. Those credits could then be sold to other companies.
Now, a short distance away from the sugar factory, and in fact I think you can still see the plumes of vapour coming from the factory over there, we come to the town of Kabango, which as you can see is a rather bustling place. It's a little small, a little dusty, but still quite energetic. Now, that hasn't always been the case. That's because up until quite recently, the lack of a really reliable power supply has really hampered the people's ability here to plan their livelihoods and therefore to feed their families.
Ozundu Muhammad is one of the traders in these parts who's seen the benefit of constant power.
Initially we used to take too much time making just a single workpiece like this. Like now there's stable power, we can just, these 6 windows are just made in 2 days because there's constant power, there's no breaking off, everything's fine. But initially we used to waste a lot of time, there's no power, you come, you sit, you don't get enough power, but now everything's fine.
And he's not the only one who's profited. The whole town, he says, is now a much better place for anyone wanting to grow their business. Of course, some residents have other uses for sugarcane. But as the sun goes down and the lights go on, more and more entrepreneurs, both large and small, hope their energy future will be more reliable and a little sweeter with a switch to green energy. Egon Kosu, Africa Business Report, Masindi in Uganda.
And that report brings us to the end of part 1 of Africa Business Report. Stay tuned, there is much more to come, including how South Africa is preparing to jump into the space race. Welcome to part 2 of Africa Business Reports, this month coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. Now, for a lot of young people in this country, sitting down, waiting for a job to come to your doorstep is simply not an option. They're using their creativity and ingenuity to create opportunity for themselves. Now, the BBC has been tapping into that and has created a competition to find East Africa's business superstars of the future. Now, this year's winner is 20-year-old Jane Mweni, and I've been meeting up with her to find out about her idea to clean up Africa's cities. Has won her a prestigious BBC prize. And later, South Africa reaches for the stars. That's all in this edition of Africa Business Report. We live in an information age where the exchange of data and ideas is essential for business. And it's true, Africa has lagged behind for several years in that regard, but that's all set to change. Africa's internet revolution begins right here in Kenya with the laying of a 17,000-kilometer fiber optic cable that'll connect parts of Africa to Asia, and then how this country, and indeed the entire East African region, hopes to jump into the fast lane of the information superhighway. Also in this program, surviving the credit crunch. How Nigerian businesses are dealing with a lack of credit. The face of the future. We'll hear from a young Kenyan woman whose bright business idea.
Africa Business Report in association with Skybank.
Welcome to Africa Business Report with me, Komla Dumont. Each month we'll be bringing you the biggest individuals and the hottest trends that are driving business across this amazing continent. This month we're in Nairobi, Kenya, and in a moment we'll find out